Welcome back, virtual circuit riders, after your midterm. And I was very pleased with your performance. Those of you who lagged a little behind will work a little harder, and we'll figure out a way to make this happen uh, through the mentoring Bush College Peter Cartwright process that you will ultimately have to go through with your Board of Ordained Ministry. Okay, we fought the Civil War, and we've looked at how the identity of Southern Methodism, Northern Methodism changed. Let's just kind of put that together a little bit during the Reconstruction period. After the Civil War, obviously the South was devastated economically, and the Southern Church, along with it, had to find ways to stabilize not only the local church but all of its missional work around the world. The Northern Church was poised for great economic growth, and we talked about that last time, that Bishop Matthew Simpson was able to tap into the industrial North's heightened capacities after the Civil War, and really create a Western movement and also support um, missionary work around the world. And Matthew Simpson, it should be said, was a strong abolitionist, and so although he is sometimes remembered as simply Lincoln's eulogizer, he also had some prophetic dynamics too as well. But after the Civil War, America changed. I mean, Civil War from 1865 to 1914 was a period in which Methodism and Protestantism in general were deconstructed, and America moved from a predominantly Protestant kingdom to a with immigration, a more Catholic nation and a more diverse nation. From 1880 to 1914, 24 million immigrants came, mostly from Central Europe, and that simply changed the dynamics of America from the old Protestant and then largely Methodist theology. 24 million from 1880 to 1914. You could check it out on Google. It's all there. Those are census records. It changed, and forever it changed Methodism. We were no longer, as a movement, the dominant Protestant or even the dominant religious Christian religious movement after that. So the Civil War changed everything, but really immigration and Reconstruction after the Civil War, with economic growth in the North, the growth of the urbanization, and Central European immigration coming in. This changed, and the center of gravity for Protestantism in America completely shifted away from Methodism. And sometimes when we talk at General Conference about all the problems we've had in the 20th century and gay rights and all the issues, the splits of General Conference, and will we honor gay marriages and all that, really the die was cast in the post-Civil War era. I mean, Methodism grew into a national movement, but then it was decentralized. As soon as we got to the throne with Matthew Simpson, as it were, in Lincoln, we were tossed off, just like King of the Hill, a game you might have played as young people. The Southern Church, obviously, the Civil War was much more destructive 250,000 member loss. Some of that due to after the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863, January, the slaves, former slaves, didn't really want to work with the Methodist Episcopal Church South. We're going to talk about that in the formation of the CME. Originally, the CME was the Colored Methodist Episcopal Church, and I'm just talking out loud, right? Now, Southern Methodism obviously lost much in the Civil War, as the entire economy of the South, and it was an open question whether or not the Southern Methodist Church, chastened, humbled, deconstructed by the Civil War, it was a clear opportunity for the South, the Southern Methodists, to rejoin the Northern Methodists to kind of keep together their Methodist connectionalism. But the Methodist Episcopal Church South met in Palmyra, Kansas, and declared that due to the ecclesiastical carpetbagging, as they mentioned in their documents, of the North, with military chaplains colonizing the South, the Palmyra Manifesto of 1865 basically said, hell no, we're not going to come back in. And so the Southern Church decided to make a couple of structural moves. The first structural move they made was to say, we will no longer have membership requirements of any length of time. Laity can come in. This really put the end to the class meeting for the Southern Methodists, and this generated a lot of energy around the laity, and the laity were able to release their resources. Laity were given annual conference rights right after the Civil War, and membership in the annual conference, and then later on in the 19th century, general conference rights. And so this unleashed a lot of lay passion and resources, human and capital resources. And so the Southern Church was able to bounce back really to its pre-Civil War levels very quickly, probably by around 1880. One of the bishops that made a great contribution was Bishop Atticus Haygood, and we want to look at his story very, very quickly right now. Atticus Haygood, who is a president of Emory from 1875 to 1884, and for whom Haygood Drive, right off the Emory campus, going towards Decatur and North Druid Hills High School, where my student, my son and daughter were students before they came to Emory. Atticus Green Haygood really set the tone for the post-war Southern Methodist Church in that he was more progressive. He was graduate of Emory and later president, particularly in Emory's Oxford phase. Allowed to read a little more progressively, and he was the progressive voice of the post-war Southern Methodist Church, in which he argued that, go back to the current slide here, Bishop Haygood began to write in the 1880s about our brother in black, and began to, in Reconstruction, reflect and perhaps reconstruct Southern Methodism's response to the Civil War, in which he said that our brother in black, God has given Southern Methodism and the South in general an opportunity to grow Atticus Haygood actually wrote about the New South, and this New South that he envisioned in his 1880 Our Brother in Black really became the progressive vision that Henry Grady uh, of Atlanta and really the 1960s version could draw upon. Atticus Haygood, basically in his Our Brother in Black and the New South writings, indicated that the South had been held back through its lazy reliance upon the plantation system, and Bishop Haygood tried to speak in terms that were certainly pre-civil rights and certainly pre-liberation theology about the need for the South to be liberated from its lazy dependence on slavery. So Atticus Haygood was one of the more progressive voices, and I think when you drive down Haygood Drive, you should think about his message that the New South, it takes a long time for a New South to emerge. And of course, Frederick Douglass said, please tell me where you see it. But there were some voices trying to move forward progressively, even in the late 19th century, the 1880s and forward. The Reconstruction period for Methodists, both North and South, actually was a period of great growth with new churches. We've already indicated that in our earlier lecture. An attempt to try to prove to America that we were really a respectable church with Gothic cathedrals all over, and Reconstruction was a period for Southern Methodism in which the Methodist Church was, again, one of the largest institutions with, before the age of franchises. The MEC South reached 2 million members by 1920. So the post-Civil War era, after Reconstruction, the MEC South reached 2 million members, but the Northern Church went ahead to 4 million members, and there was a lot of interesting ministry done to immigrants, and we're going to talk about that in our later editions. The Methodist Protestant Church grew to 185,000 by 1920, and that's pretty much where they leveled off, as well as the United Brethren here and the Evangelical Association. They never, after World War I, really grew that much. They were kind of bounded by their, the UB and the EA were bounded by their German ethnicity, and the MPC was overtaken as the Methodist Episcopal Church and the MEC of the North became more and more democratic. So that's the post-war period, and we'll talk some more next time, Virtual Circuit Riders.